Welcome to the Embracing Neuro-Diversity podcast, where I share my journey of embracing the experience of my amazing son who is on the spectrum. I am Ivory, a mother, educator, and personal growth enthusiast. My goal is to offer insight and stories that may inspire you on your own parenting journey. Thank you for tuning in. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I hope that you had a great, productive, restful, and beautiful week. I hope that it was everything that you wanted it to be or imagined it to be. And if it was not, I hope that you have the strength to try again this week. On today's podcast, I want to talk about this idea of authentic living, especially, of course, as parents of neurodiverse children. Y'all know I've been reading Brianna Wiest. Hopefully y'all don't get tired of me, but you know I'm really into personal growth and centering my own growth so that I am better for my child. And so I'm going to dive right in so that you all can begin to understand the intention behind today's episode. As a reminder, you all know that Embracing Neuro-Diversity is a podcast where we focus on fostering connection, acceptance, and well-being for parents of neurodiverse children. My name is Ivory. Obviously, you know that I am the host. And today, I want to talk to you all about living authentically. When we talk about living authentically, I mean showing up as our true selves and encouraging our children to do the same. I've said this on previous podcasts. I'll say it on this episode. You are a reflection of your child. So how you feel about yourself is how your child will feel about themselves. How you feel about your child is how your child will feel about themselves, right? And so when we live authentically and show up as our authentic selves, we empower our children and, quite frankly, others around us to do the same. And so when we talk about living authentically for parents of neurodiverse children, this often means embracing our child's unique qualities and individuality. You know, I'm a big fan of individuality. I think it's important. I think we all are made uniquely for an intentional purpose, and we should live in that uniqueness rather than striving to meet societal expectations. And we want to embrace our child's unique qualities because, quite frankly, I could speak for my child. He is resistant to conforming to anything that doesn't work for him, which teaches me a lot about myself, and it reminds me of what's truly important. And so you all know that I've been reading Brianna Wiest's book, The Pivot Year. She is becoming one of my favorite authors. I love the way that she writes. And so she beautifully captures this idea in her writings. She says, you change your life when you start doing the truly scary thing, which is showing up exactly as you are. This is a very important quote because I want to acknowledge that it is not easy to live authentically and show up as your authentic self. It is incredibly hard. There's fear of judgment. There's fear of rejection, obviously. But when you don't show up as your authentic self, you suppress who you truly are, who you truly desire to be. Dis-ease starts to create internally, right? So I want to explore today what it means to live authentically, love authentically, and parent authentically. Let's start by acknowledging the pressure many of us feel as parents. Society often gives us a checklist of what a quote-unquote good parent looks like. We're told that success means having children who meet certain milestones at certain times. who behave in socially acceptable ways, and who follow a well-trodden path. But for parents of neurodiverse children, those societal expectations can feel particularly unhelpful and incredibly harmful. What if instead of trying to fit into those expectations, we embraced our children's unique ways of being? I know I sound like a broken record, but this is the key. What if we celebrated who they are rather than worrying about who they are quote unquote supposed to be? I think about that a lot, which is why I'm laughing, because I'm like, who do I want Khalil to be? Like, who am I comparing him to in the world? Like, he is exactly who he's supposed to be, and quite frankly, I am in awe of it. This is what authentic living asks of us: to show up fully without pretense, and to love our children as they are. Twofold: that you show up authentically and that you love your child exactly, or children exactly as they are. Brianna Wiest also writes, you are going to have to decide that you love yourself too much to stop settling for less than what you really deserve. I think this applies to our children too. We have to decide that we love them too much to settle for a version of life where they feel pressured to conform, rather than empowered to thrive as their authentic selves. I'm going to say that again. We have to decide that we love our children too much to settle for a version of life where they feel pressure to conform, but instead they feel empowered to thrive as their authentic selves. One of the most powerful ways to live authentically as a parent is by fostering acceptance. This means not only accepting our children's differences, but accepting ourselves, our imperfections, our fears, our doubts. I always tell people that Khalil changed my life, and one of the ways that he has done that is that when I watch him and I observe his ways of being, he is very clear about what he wants. He's unapologetic about it. He feels confident about asserting himself and what he wants, and he's not concerned about what others think about him. And that has absolutely inspired me to begin to do the same. He is a child that plays and is present and enjoys the simple things in life and is unaware and unbothered by others' perceptions of him. And I hope that remains. So when we embrace authenticity, we create a home environment where our children feel safe to be who they are. That's important. And what that looks like in practice is affirming and reasserting what they can do, not what they can't do. Creating sensory friendly play spaces where they feel regulated and safe. This fosters a deeper connection and strengthens the parent-child relationship. It also helps our children develop self-acceptance, which is crucial for their emotional well-being. Think about this. Every time we choose acceptance over judgment, we teach our children that they are worthy of love just as they are. I think about my own childhood and how I was parented, and I don't blame anyone, and I have no resentment anymore. But I think about if I would have been given more opportunities to feel accepted and experience unconditional love as opposed to judgment, or in many ways abandonment, it probably would not have taken me this long in life to sort of begin my own unconditional self-love journey, right? But everything happens as it should. But obviously, reflection is important for learning. And so I think about my own upbringing so that I'm intentional with my son. And so I know that small shift in accepting over judgment makes a world of difference. And it really is just about how it shows up in your behavior and the words that you say. When your child makes a mistake, you say, "That's okay. Let's try again." Instead of beating them up about it or getting frustrated about it, right? Isn't that what we all want? To feel seen, heard, loved for who we truly are? Brianna Wiest says that the greatest act of self-love is to no longer accept a life that you are unhappy with. That's the greatest act of self-love. Even small changes can impact that. As parents, we can apply this by refusing to accept a version of life where we feel pressured to meet unrealistic standards for ourselves and our child. Instead, we can choose a life where love and authenticity guide our actions. Now let's talk about societal expectations. You all know or maybe you don't know, but I'm a history buff. I'm an educator. I've consumed a lot of books and information around sociology and psychology and history and the intersection of those three. And I think a lot about how the intentionality of society and how whomever the powers may be have created a standard that we all have been in this rat race to meet, even if that standard is not in alignment to who we truly are, right? And then I begin to think about how damaging that can be to the human psyche and spirit. These societal expectations can be tough to navigate because they often come from potentially well-meaning people, family, friends, teachers, even strangers. They may have ideas about how our children should behave or develop. I'm sure many of you listening to this have gotten unsolicited advice. I certainly have, about how I should parent my child because people are socialized to think about parenting and children in a particular way. So they may have ideas about how children should behave or develop, and sometimes their opinions can make us question whether we're doing the right thing. Which is why this podcast, I hope, helps parents feel seen and heard from a parent of a neurodiverse child. I want you to know, no matter how many mistakes you've made, you are always doing your best. Learn from your mistakes and keep going. There is no size fits all when it comes to parenting. Every child is different and every family is different. Authentic living means letting go of the need to please others or gain their approval. That is key on this journey. It means trusting our instincts and honoring our children's unique paths. This doesn't mean we ignore helpful advice or support. Oftentimes, family, friends, strangers have good intentions. Kindly thank them for their advice. If it applies, great. If it doesn't, release it. Filter it through the lens of what aligns with your values and your child's needs. That's why I've said probably 2 years ago when I started this podcast, you have to have core family values to inform how you operate. For me, my core family values in my family are self-love, education, individuality, compassion, discipline. By following your own values, you empower yourself and your child from a place of confidence and love rather than fear and doubt. Authentic living isn't about how we parent, it's about how we care for ourselves. And how we care for ourselves supports our parenting, right? Parenting, especially with neurodiverse children, can be incredibly demanding, incredibly exhausting, incredibly emotional. If we're constantly trying to meet external expectations, we will burn out. Living authentically means honoring our own needs as well. It means giving ourselves permission to rest, to seek joy, and to pursue what makes us feel alive. And managing your fears, doubts, guilt around that, right? I recently started a new hobby, which I'm excited about. I want to learn how to be a bartender. I've always had that on my bucket list, and so I finally got an opportunity to start to do that. So I go once a week to a local lounge here. It's membership only, around the same age range and profession of people as myself, and I am learning how to bartend, and I'm engaging with people who are like-minded, and it's such a joyful space to be in, and it fuels me to be able to then return back home and be present with Khalil and support him, because I've been able to seek joy for myself. And when I seek joy for myself, I then am able to create joyful experiences for Khalil as well. So of course I grapple with oftentimes like guilt around leaving Khalil or traveling or doing something for myself, because I have was saddled with, or it was projected upon me that I always needed to be 100% available to my child. But the truth is that it's important to center yourself as a parent first before you can do anything for your children. And when we do this, we model self-love and self-care for our children. Living authentically, as Wiest also calls it, is ultimately a call to live with integrity, to align our actions with our values. That's what integrity is. So once you are clear about your values, how do your actions line up? And when we do this, we create a life that feels true and fulfilling. And isn't that what we all deserve? So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Authentic living isn't about being perfect. Perfection is an illusion. It's about being real. It's about showing up every day with love and courage for ourselves and for our children. So thank y'all so much again for joining me on this journey. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with another parent who may need this message. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye.